What's up, YouTube? My Tabor City home here, and today we are planting bulbs. December 12th, I think. I think it's 12th, maybe. Yeah. And it is mid 40s today in Carolina, at least this part of Carolina. And this is a great time to plant daffodils. One of the reasons is we kind of learned this lesson last year. At our old house we lived in, we didn't really do a whole lot of flowers. So I'm kind of new to all this. But last year we planted daffodils probably mid-October. Put the bulbs in the ground, and a decent amount of them came up, but there were an awful lot that didn't. And one of the things that we found out through talking with the extension office here in North Carolina is there's like a fungus, or I don't know exactly what it is, but there's something that if you plant daffodil bulbs and the ground is still too warm, it'll basically get in there and render your bulbs useless. They won't come up, they won't bloom, they won't do anything. So waited and waited. Had an idea that we were going to plant them somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas, so here we are. And the ground is doing exactly what we wanted it to do. It's got good and cool. All said and done, we have a ton of bulbs to plant. So these ones here, Juanita daffodils, double daffodil mixture, giant daffodils. As you can tell, I get an awful lot of bulbs from Brex. They have a guarantee on them. They don't come up. You send them something, they'll I guess send you more. I haven't ever had to utilize that. Everything I've gotten from them to this point, with the exception of some poppies, Oriental poppies, haven't come up. So I was going to give it till next spring to see if the poppies came up, and if they don't come up next spring, I was going to click the button on that whole guarantee thing. Thing about it is, we have an awful lot of bulbs to plant. I mean, a lot. This right here is for 30. That's just 45 bulbs in that pack. All said and done, we got lots and lots and lots of daffodils. Total count on the daffodils is probably somewhere around 1,500. Not all of them are for Brex. This property, on the back of the property, had a ton of naturalized daffodils just growing everywhere out of the ground back in the woods. So I spent a good bit of time in the summer. I marked them all off when they came up and waited for them to die back, and then spent time in the summer out there when I had a little bit of time here and there to go back there and harvest them out of the ground, cleaned them, dried them, stored them, and we're going to be planting those too. We're actually making a new kind of a garden over on that area where we got some mums over there already, and we've transplanted some of the camellias and azaleas over there. So working on that side of the yard. Middle of the driveway has like a dirt area. We actually put some boxwoods in there, planning on moving some roses in there in the middle of the boxwoods. Just stuff going on, trying to beauty it up. Mrs. My Tabor City home loves flowers. I love Miss My Tabor City and Mrs. My Tabor City home. So, we do what we can to put a smile on her face and let her have a lot of nice flowers that she can look at. So, I was going to show you guys today how I plant bulbs when I have a lot of bulbs to plant. And even though we have these bags of 15s, I tend to try to plant them in groupings so I can keep up with them. But one of the things I do is, after I plant a grouping of bulbs, I'll actually come along with this just play sand, and I'll put it over top of where the bulbs have been planted. And that way, as I'm coming around and I'm planting more bulbs, I know I'm not digging into stuff that, where those have been planted. I know that area has already been used, so I just move on to another area. Some of these are daffodils, some of these are tulips. I think I actually wrote that. I think about daffodil, tulip. We've already planted some grape hyacinth, or not grape hyacinth, some regular hyacinths over there, some paper whites, and some crocus over here by the tree today. So we were in full swing trying to get some of these bulbs in the ground. A couple things on bulbs. You gotta feel them before you plant them. Make sure they're not rotted out. Make sure they're not soft and squishy. And then, you know, get them in the ground, because they're, once you get that ground temperature down, the thing about them is get them in the ground. So that's what we're going to do with this one. We'll see. What are we going to plant? We'll go with giant daffodils. So we're going to plant giant daffodils. We're going to put the giants over here by the driveway. So, gonna plant some Carolina daffodils. I would love to plant daffodils with a backhoe too, but yeah, I mean, come on. There gets a point where planting things with a backhoe can get a little bit ridiculous. So now I know for certain, you know, what's going on with this piece of property right here, because I know exactly where the water line runs through. And although the water line on this property does run through beside the driveway, it actually cuts in further up the driveway, hangs close to the driveway, but stays out of the way right here. So we are safe in digging the way we're digging right here. If you're not sure about that kind of stuff, you know, try to get a good idea of what you're doing and what's in the area before you start throwing shovels in the ground. Because, you know, a day like today, you could be trying to throw your daffodils in the ground, end up with a busted water line or cutting your cable line, and then it just makes for a miserable day. So, what you thought you were going to do that was going to turn out really nice ends up being not so nice. So, alright. So we got our hole dug in. Let's see if we can put that down there a little bit more like that. And come in here with our giant daffodils. Now, one of the nice things about bricks is when you order something from Brex and the bag comes in, it tells you exactly what they want. Plant in full sun to partial shade, early to mid-spring flowering. Height's going to be 16 to 20 inches. Bulb size is 12 to 14. Plant 6 inches deep and 4 to 6 inches deep. So it is what it is. So what I do is I just start putting bulbs in. A lot of times I'll just put the bulbs around the perimeter to begin with and see what kind of spacing that gives us, because if you look, this right here, although we're probably going to be more towards the 4 than the 6, this right here is probably going to give us all the spacing we need. Now, if that didn't give us all the spacing we need, then, you know, we would go and dig some more. But we're going to put a little bit of dirt in here just to make sure the bulbs don't move around while we push the rest of the dirt on them. If you get any that get terribly knocked over, just sit them back up. You got the dirt to help kind of firm them, keeping them in place. And then once you get them there, just push all the dirt right back on. Alright, now there are people who they'll go through and they'll put fertilizer in with their bulbs, all that kind of stuff. But in all actuality, I don't do that with daffodils. And I read an article within the last few months, knowing that we were going to be planting all these daffodils. I read an article in the last few months that said daffodils do not like to have a lot of excess nitrogen. Daffodils just want to be in the ground. They just want to be in the ground. They just want to be able to do their thing. They don't want to be treated like prima donnas with a bunch of extra nitrogen. So now we're gonna come over here with our bag of sand. We're gonna mark off our area so we know not to be trying to put any other flowers here. The other thing with this is it's not saying that you can't plant another plant over top of this, but this sand should be a good marker. Number one, it does nothing to the soil. It doesn't add or subtract anything from the soil. It just marks an area. So if you did this with lime or you did this with something else, you know, you'd be changing the soil. So the sand doesn't change the soil. It just marks an area. But the thing is, if I came in here and I said, well, I'm going to plant, you know, dahlias over top of this, I could do that. That's not an issue. It's just, I know because of the sand content right here, even if it darkens up a little bit, I'll know because of that heavy sand content right there that I need to be careful when I start putting the shovel in here so I'm not cutting up daffodil bulbs. The other thing is, I like to get daffodils that hopefully will naturalize. And when they talk about plants naturalizing, what they're talking about is dividing. They'll make more plants. So I plant them in groups like this. Number one, I want to see when they come up, I want to be able to identify them correctly. But number two, I kind of use them as little nurseries. As they come up, you know, if these right here, we know we put 15 bulbs in 3 years, we have 45 plants starting to branch out from this area. We'll come in here and we'll divide up the bulbs. We'll move them around the yard. But we'll know exactly what kind of bulb we're dealing with and what kind of bulb we're moving. So that's how I do daffodils. When you got, you know, hundreds and hundreds of them to do, just dig you a long trench. Put your daffodil bulbs in there. Cover them up. Space them out right. Cover them up. And then let them go. Do not fertilize daffodils. You can fertilize tulips, you can fertilize a lot of other things, but apparently you're not supposed to fertilize daffodils. Anyways, from a nice December day here in Tabor City, my Tabor City home to you. God bless. Let's get your bulbs in the ground. You'll thank yourself for them come next spring when you have a nice show of flowers going on. All right? Peace. God love you. Have a great day.